So now let's change gears a little bit. And what would you say was some of the most rewarding things, as a Marine leader?
Yeah, I think learning to deal with adversity and making difficult the norm in your life is something that I took away. As I completed more and more difficult tasks, such as I was a Marine combat instructor, water survival, or drill instructor duty, or things of that level, to me were initially unachievable in my mind, to myself. I just didn't think I could make the cut. Mm-hmm. But as I started to achieve those kind of accomplishments in the military, they only multiplied, and they kept coming, and I kept getting promoted. And I was promoted to sergeant major. I was called the below zone, which is, oh my goodness. I came back from my third tour in Iraq. I was a first sergeant in 1st Battalion, 9th Marines, and I get a phone call that I was selected to sergeant major. I wasn't even in zone. And I took the photo the day I was leaving to that deployment. It was my dad's birthday, and selfishly, I had to cut my time with my wife short so I can go take a promotion photo. And I did that. So I felt bad, but in the same token, I'm so glad I took that photo. I lost 30 minutes with my wife of what could have been a deployment that I didn't come back from. But to get back to the point, learning to deal with adversity, becoming better at dealing with difficult tasks, and making dealing with difficult tasks not an issue.
Yeah.
That's really what I took away from the military, and it drives me today immensely.
Yeah, I always make like 2 points when somebody asks me the same thing, like, hey, what'd you do that was hard? Leading Marines in combat was probably the most rewarding thing that, for me, that's top of my list.
Yes.
And like number 2 would be making Marines, because it doesn't happen without putting them through the process.
Yeah.
So
no, Mark, I appreciate that. Those things are also high on my list. I think the totality of my experiences, all of that was difficult, right? And so,
it was very hard.
But those are very rewarding experiences.
For sure. Well, we can't stay in forever.
That's right. That's right.
And you hung up your uniform. You and I almost hung it up about the same time, about two and a half years ago. And just wanted to kind of ask you a little bit about how'd you feel after you hung up the uniform, that transition?
Yeah, so for me, if you look back, if you know anything about my transition, you see that I had a job about 5 months before I retired. I fell into a good plan. I executed a difficult move from Japan to Washington, D.C., but I've never been stationed here, so I wanted to come here and do some work that I thought would be relevant. And so I was enticed to come here by all of that, and never having been stationed here. So initially it was exciting, it was motivating, it was thrilling, but then I started missing, you guys, my brothers and my sisters in the military system. I didn't know that I was missing everybody. I did not miss the phone calls. I did not miss the misconduct and all the negativity of being in the military that comes with it. But it was definitely, there was a gap in my life, and I didn't know how to deal with it. Like, I was trying to deal with it. I thought I was prepared. I mentally prepared for years.
It's real talk.
Because I was like, I'm ready to go. My body's beat down. I can't be in the military anymore. I'm broken. Let's do the next phase. And so it's taken me about 2.5 years.
Oh yeah.
To still find what I want to do when I grow up. Like, what is the next thing, right? And what makes it hard, Mark, is when people ask you, man, we're so proud of you. What's the next big thing? And then, so I'm like, yeah, you're right. It motivates me, but then I'm like, is that pressure for me to try to do something that I may not want to do, or ramp it up?
Yeah.
Do I need to ramp it up? Does my wife support me ramping it up to something bigger, right?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point. Man, I was convinced that you just basically, when you retire, it's all about filling up your own cup, right?
That's right.
It's all about just filling up your own and filling up your wife and your kids. And I realized pretty quickly after about 6 months of just, worrying about within the walls of my home that there wasn't enough.
That's right.
When you get used to leading for so many years and influencing and having access to just the best people, and that gets ripped out from under you like a carpet, it's painful. So you just got to find different ways to do that.
That's right. And I've heard people put that in a negative way, right? Like, well, you're used to all the attention and the glamour and the fame you had at that level in the military. Yeah, but okay, that's one way to look at it, but that's not what it was. It was the influence. Like, I promised myself as a E3 Lance Corporal, when my corporal told me, you want to start making change, get promoted and make a difference. And so I kept getting promoted to make a difference. And so when I was at the highest levels, even in Japan, I had radio shows and podcasts, and people were like, oh, he just likes being in the spotlight. Actually, I'm influencing service member discipline by teaching them Japanese etiquette and culture so that they don't get in trouble and they respect their environment.
Absolutely, man.
But,
it's like giving back.
Right,
Continually.
it's giving back. And so that's why I'm still working today, right? Is to give back and make a difference somewhere else.
Yeah, I realize there's a lot of cynical people out there, you know, and just you got a mix of cynical versus optimistic people, and just it is what it is, and I just don't let them stop you from continuing to give back and continuing to do the things that you enjoy, because you know what's in your heart.
Right, and I think that's one thing I learned about transition is not to pressure others to do something that maybe it's not what they want to do. Some people are okay with not working a year, and financially they're completely perfect with not working even longer. Others, like you and I, we need a little bit of a break. We need to reset, set our mind, and we need to get after what we think is that next thing that's going to make us happy.
Yeah, for sure.